This comment from last year proves David is 100% guilty. So while people were digging into the David situation, they found this comment by a person named Robin River. At the time of recording, the comment is still up and I can 100% confirm it's real. If you read it, you can see that they knew about David messing around with girls that were not of age all the way back in 2024. Who this Robin person is and how they know this, I don't know, but I will investigate. I'm gonna reach out to them and update you guys if they get back with me.
Be a star witness in the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Till now, it's been a total mystery. Who wrapped her up in plastic and closed her into the trunk of a Tesla until she decomposed beyond recognition? Well, there's a very good chance that the Tesla knows. If you were with us here last night, we listed off all the ways that Teslas record everything that happens around them. And if you missed it, you can check that out on my podcast, Drop Dead Serious. But the 2023 Model Y Tesla is a virtual rolling studio and hard drive all in one. 8 cameras on the outside, 1 camera on the inside. It can tell you who closed that trunk and when that closed trunk happened. It can tell you how many doors opened and closed after that trunk opened and closed for the last time. And it can tell you where the car drove from before it was abandoned. Best case scenario, the car identifies.
Breaking news in the David case. It looks like David might have had accomplices. Why? Because a lot of interesting things have been uncovered in an investigative report. One of them is they interviewed the owner of the $20,000 a month house that David and his manager were renting. Okay. And it seems that the owner is saying that nothing could have happened in the house without it being recorded.
Why Mr. Burke's not in custody right now? Well, just because it's in his car doesn't mean that he's the one that did this. If you look at what happened with Casey Anthony's case, it's not very similar to it, actually. There was her trunk that smelled like a dead body, but there wasn't enough evidence to link her to the kid. And so until they've got something, they have to have probable cause in order to arrest her. But more than that, in order to bring a case, even though you only need probable cause to charge somebody, a prosecutor has an ethical obligation to not bring a case that he doesn't think he can win beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the standard for a jury. It might seem like a great idea. I'm going to go with this rapper. But guess what you are? First of all, you're a teenager. You don't have any independent means of support. You don't have your own credit card. You don't have your own job. You don't have your own set of wheels. You don't have your own anything. And guess what that makes you? That makes you...
You thought the David case couldn't get any darker? Think again. Because hidden in plain sight is a comment, posted nearly a year before Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was discovered, that may prove people already knew what he was doing. The comment is still live. It names him directly, and it ties him to underage girls months before police ever opened the trunk of that Tesla. And that's just the beginning, because once investigators dug deeper, the coroner's office, his music, and even the car itself began telling a story nobody was ready for. They say the internet never forgets, but sometimes it remembers too soon. Buried under thousands of fan posts and throwaway comments is one chilling message that now feels less like gossip and more like prophecy. Almost a year before Celeste Rivas Hernandez was discovered dismembered in the trunk of a Tesla, a user named Robin River left a comment that tied David directly to underage girls. At the time, it looked like speculation, maybe even a baseless rumor. But now, people are digging it back up, and it reads like a confession that was hiding in plain sight. The comment is still there, still public, frozen in time while the world debates whether David is guilty. And the timing is what makes it haunting. This wasn't written after police found Celeste's body. It wasn't written after news headlines exploded. It was written before the coroner's deferred report, before investigators uncovered encrypted files, before fans started connecting his music lyrics to something more sinister. It's like Robin River already knew the story we're just beginning to piece together. Think about that for a second. In a world where everyone's a detective on TikTok and Reddit, where conspiracy theories spread faster than facts, this isn't just another shady post. It's evidence of awareness. Proof that whispers about David and underage girls were circulating long before the mainstream even caught a scent. And if someone on the internet could say it so casually last year, how many other people knew and chose to stay silent? That's the part nobody can shake. Because if Robin's words were true, then David wasn't some misunderstood rising star caught in a tragic misunderstanding. He was a walking red flag, and the internet saw it before the authorities did. The comment alone doesn't convict him, but it raises the scariest question of all. How many warning signs were ignored, and how much horror could have been prevented if people took that one post seriously? And here's the kicker. Robin River isn't some anonymous throwaway account lost in the noise. The name is still active, the profile is still traceable, and the comment hasn't been deleted. Which means either someone was bold enough to spill the truth publicly, or bold enough to plant a breadcrumb that police and fans can't stop following. Either way, the fact that it exists, and that it existed long before the Tesla, the autopsy, the raids, turns this case from a shocking discovery into a slow-motion tragedy that the internet saw coming. The warning signs were eerie enough, but nothing could prepare people for what was actually found. September 8th, Hollywood Hills, the kind of neighborhood where celebrities hide behind gated driveways, where million-dollar Teslas blend into the scenery, and where the quiet is supposed to feel safe. Except that night, the quiet broke. Neighbors complained about a stench, thick and sour, seeping from a parked Tesla with Texas plates. A smell no one forgets once they've noticed it. When police arrived, they didn't expect what they were about to uncover. They approached the car like it was just another abandoned vehicle, but the closer they got, the stronger the odor became. It wasn't just foul, it was unmistakable. The kind of smell that signals something's gone horribly wrong. Officers popped the trunk, but not the back. The horror was hidden in the front compartment, the frunk, where groceries or luggage usually go. Inside, wrapped in plastic and sealed in bags, were human remains. Dismembered. That car wasn't just abandoned, it was a crime scene on wheels. And the victim wasn't some anonymous stranger. The body was confirmed to be 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the girl who had been reported missing multiple times throughout 2024. A teenager who vanished, reappeared, and vanished again, until the last time when she never came back. The discovery didn't bring answers, it brought more questions. Because this wasn't some hidden desert burial. This wasn't a body dumped in a river to disappear forever. This was a corpse left in plain sight, parked in one of the most exclusive zip codes in Los Angeles. The Hollywood Hills, where every corner has a camera, where every neighbor has security systems, and where the elite pretend their secrets are untouchable. For a body to sit there, decomposing in a Tesla, is more than gruesome, it's deliberate. It's a message. The details are almost too disturbing to process. Detectives quietly told reporters that dismemberment usually points to a personal connection. That whoever did this didn't just want to hide Celeste's body, they wanted to erase her. And that's why people can't let go of this case. Because it wasn't just the body in the trunk, it was the way it was left there, like the car itself was meant to rot with the evidence inside. And here's the chilling contradiction. While the Hollywood Hills neighbors were breathing in that stench, David was silent. No statements. No explanations. Meanwhile, investigators were already piecing together a darker puzzle. Celeste's name wasn't just tied to the car. It was tied to files, to encrypted folders, and to timelines that don't add up. And the coroner's ruling, instead of clarifying anything, would make everything even murkier. Normally, when a case is this gruesome, the coroner's report is supposed to bring clarity. Science cuts through rumor. Pathology replaces speculation, and the cause of death becomes the one thing nobody can argue about. But in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the opposite happened. When officials finally issued their ruling, the document didn't close the story. It cracked it wide open. Instead of listing a cause of death, the line that should have given the family closure carried a single word: deferred. On paper, it's just a clinical term. But in reality, that word hit like a bomb. Deferred doesn't mean unknown. It means delayed. It means someone in that office had the body, had the evidence, and still refused to put down in ink how Celeste died. And when silence replaces science, the vacuum fills with whispers. People start asking, what was so shocking, so politically dangerous, or so inconvenient about Celeste's death that even the coroner wouldn't commit to the truth? To the public, defer became code for cover-up. Think about it. You've got a 15-year-old girl dismembered, found in the trunk of a Tesla, linked to a rising star with encrypted files on his computer, and the official verdict is, we'll get back to you. In a case already tangled with contradictions, the coroner's refusal to answer became the most suspicious detail of all. Whispers turned into theories. Some claimed the report was delayed to buy investigators time, that toxicology tests were pending. Others insisted it was darker, that someone was leaning on the coroner's office, pressuring them not to put a certain word down on paper. Murder, overdose, trafficking. Each possibility raised new questions, and every unanswered question made the story grow louder. And here's the haunting truth. Silence often feels louder than answers. For Celeste's family, deferred meant their daughter's final moments were still a mystery, her death hanging in limbo. For the public, it meant every lyric, every leaked file, every live stream clip suddenly carried more weight. If science won't explain what killed her, then the court of public opinion will, and fans were more than ready to connect dots that officials refused to. The word deferred didn't just stall the case, it flipped it. Because when a coroner doesn't commit, it leaves the door wide open for speculation. And speculation, once it starts, doesn't stop. It multiplies. Every rumor sounds plausible. Every clue feels like evidence. And suddenly, the silence in that autopsy report screams louder than anything David has ever said. If the coroner's silence cast shadows, what detectives pulled from David's digital footprint turned those shadows into something far darker. Because the evidence wasn't just in the car, it was on his computer. Investigators recovered files carrying Celeste's name, not hidden in plain sight, but buried in encrypted folders designed to keep prying eyes out. And here's where the contradictions begin. The timestamps on those files don't line up with Celeste's disappearance, or even with the supposed timeline of her death. Some were created weeks after she was last seen alive. Others were modified during the very window when her family was begging online for answers, posting missing posters, and pleading for her safe return. Even worse, digital forensics flagged wiping attempts, commands that look like someone tried to erase whole blocks of data, only for fragments to survive. That's what makes it so chilling. These weren't casual files sitting in a downloads folder. These were protected, manipulated, hidden. And the more you look, the more the puzzle refuses to fit. Because then comes the decomposition timeline. Experts privately admitted something wasn't adding up. The state of Celeste's remains didn't match the last day she was supposedly seen alive. Meaning one of two things. Either the public record of her disappearance is incomplete, or someone moved her body after death to keep the truth buried. Both options lead to the same conclusion. Someone was actively managing Celeste's existence and disappearance like a controlled narrative. It's not a straight line. It's a web of contradictions. A missing girl with files and hidden folders. Timestamps that rewrite the timeline. A body whose condition refuses to cooperate with official dates. It paints a picture less of tragedy and more of orchestration, as if the horror was curated step by step behind a digital veil. And while David stayed silent, his hard drive whispered stories it couldn't fully delete. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The most important witness in this case might not be a person at all. It might be the car. Because Teslas aren't just vehicles, they're surveillance systems on wheels. Equipped with cameras pointing in every direction, backed by a feature called Sentry Mode, these cars don't just drive you around. They watch everything. And if that Tesla was active, it means the cameras could have recorded every move leading up to Celeste's body being placed inside. Who parked it? Who opened the trunk? Who closed it? In a case drowning in contradictions, the car itself may hold the clearest, coldest truth. But that's where another layer of mystery emerges. If Sentry Mode was on, where's the footage? Was it wiped, like the files on David's computer? Was it uploaded to Tesla's servers, sitting somewhere waiting for a subpoena? Or worse, does someone already have it, but refuses to let it see the light of day? Imagine it. A silent electronic witness that saw everything, stored everything, and can't be intimidated or bribed. If those cameras were rolling, the Tesla doesn't just hold Celeste's body. It holds the key to her story. Whether that footage will ever surface is the question gnawing at everyone watching this case. Because in a world full of lies, contradictions, and deferred answers, the car itself may be the only one capable of telling the truth. And if it does, it won't just convict someone. It'll expose how deep this nightmare really runs. For weeks, the narrative has circled around David as the lone figure at the center of this horror. But when detectives began combing through house security recordings and property alarm logs, cracks appeared in that theory. There were movements in and out of the residence that didn't match David's travel schedule. Doors opening and closing while his phone was pinging miles away. Security alarms disarmed at hours when he wasn't even home. It suggested something no one wanted to admit. Multiple people may have had access. And if that's true, then Celeste's death isn't just the act of one man. It could be a coordinated effort. Neighbors even whispered about seeing more than one figure at the house during the weeks Celeste was missing. Shadows in the driveway, multiple voices overheard at night. Combine that with the strange digital inconsistencies, the delayed file edits, the mismatched decomposition timeline, and suddenly it looks less like sloppy work by a single predator and more like a cover-up managed by more than one set of hands. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Dismemberment isn't easy. Transporting remains isn't easy. Cleaning up isn't easy. And the more you examine the sheer logistics of this case, the harder it is to believe one person did all of it alone, which raises the stakes even higher. If there were accomplices, who were they protecting? David or themselves? The question flips the entire story. This isn't just a fallen star hiding his darkest secrets. It may be a network of people invested in making sure Celeste's voice never broke through the silence. And if that's true, the horror is no longer contained to one man, it's systemic. But Celeste's tragedy didn't begin in that Tesla. It didn't even begin in David's house. It was a story written in slow motion, piece by piece, over months, years even, while adults and peers tried to raise alarms. Teachers at her school remembered her as bright but distracted, often missing class, often showing up exhausted. She was flagged multiple times for truancy. Reports were filed, but they slipped through cracks like so many other missing children in Los Angeles. Online, the signs were even louder. Discord chats show Celeste communicating with older men, drawn into circles that blurred the line between fan culture and exploitation. Screenshots leaked of conversations where her age was openly acknowledged, yet ignored. In one stream clip, she appeared briefly on camera in the background of David's live session. At the time, fans brushed it off as a relative or a cousin. Now it looks like damning evidence hiding in plain sight. And then there were the disappearances. Celeste wasn't just reported missing once. She vanished multiple times throughout 2024. Each time, she'd resurface, only for the cycle to repeat. Family and friends pleaded online, but the pattern became almost routine. Until the last time, when she didn't come home. That's what makes this story so unbearable. This wasn't a sudden, shocking tragedy. It was a long, drawn-out grooming process, playing out both in the open and in the shadows, while everyone waited for someone else to step in. By the time her name surfaced in connection to David's encrypted files, the tragedy wasn't just in her death. It was in all the missed chances to save her before it came to this. For years, David's fans praised him as an artist who blurred the line between vulnerability and violence. But in hindsight, many are rereading his lyrics not as poetry, but as prophecy. Take Romantic Homicide, the breakout track that made him a household name. On the surface, it's a dark anthem about heartbreak and rage. But the chilling imagery, romance intertwined with murder, hits differently when you pair it with Celeste's story. What once felt like edgy metaphor now reads like foreshadowing, as if he was rehearsing the headlines before they happened. And then came the Celeste demo leak. At first, fans thought it was just another unfinished track, circulating through Discord servers and Reddit. But the name, Celeste, is impossible to ignore now. Was it coincidence? Was it code? Or was David leaving breadcrumbs, embedding his victim's name into his work long before the police caught on? Even his visuals tell a story. The violent alter ego he presented in videos, cloaked in shadow and menace, looked like a stylistic choice. Now it feels like an alter ego made flesh, an identity where art blurred into confession and performance became reality. And if that's true, then David wasn't just expressing his demons through music. He was broadcasting them in plain sight, daring the world to decode his horror. And this is where the story takes on a larger cultural weight. Because when autopsies go silent, when verdicts are deferred, the vacuum always fills with conspiracy. We've seen it before. When Kurt Cobain died, the suicide or murder debate still echoes decades later. When Aaliyah's plane crash raised questions about negligence and exploitation, the unanswered details turned her death into a cultural wound. Princess Diana, Michael Jackson, their autopsies became global battlegrounds, each contradiction feeding a new generation of theories. And now Celeste joins that tragic lineage. A deferred autopsy in a case already wrapped in fame, music, and scandal is the perfect recipe for speculation that will never end. Every silence breeds noise. Every delay fuels theories. And every unanswered question pushes this case further into legend and infamy. While the world picks apart the contradictions, David's empire is collapsing in real time. Tours have been canceled overnight. Venues once begging for his presence are now scrubbing his name from their websites. Brand partnerships, fashion collabs, sneaker lines, even rumored film deals have all gone dark. And the label, once his biggest offender, has stayed silent, refusing to shield him under the weight of headlines too toxic to spin. But the cruelest contrast is this. While David's career burns, Celeste's family is just trying to bury their daughter. No stylists, no lawyers, no PR managers. Just grief-stricken parents scraping together resources to give their child dignity in death, while paparazzi circle the story like vultures. For them, this isn't about canceled tours or lost revenue. It's about a teenage girl who should have had her whole life ahead of her, reduced to evidence bags and a deferred cause of death. It's a juxtaposition that makes the tragedy unbearable. A rising star destroyed by the ugliest headlines possible, and a family destroyed by the reality behind those headlines. And now, the case doesn't just belong to detectives, it belongs to the public. On TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter, digital detectives are piecing together timelines, analyzing his lyrics frame by frame, matching livestream clips to missing person reports. Every theory spawns 10 more. Every clue becomes a viral thread. The internet has become the jury, the judge, and in many ways, the historian of this nightmare. Because whether David is convicted in court or not, he's already been tried in the court of public opinion. But here's where I'll leave it with you. Was this the story of one man spiraling into violence? Or is the web of contradictions pointing to something bigger? An accomplice, a cover-up, maybe even an entire system designed to silence Celeste before she could speak. What do you think? Did the internet see the truth all along? Or are we still staring at shadows, waiting for the final piece of evidence to surface?